as you know, signed on New Year's Eve when they thought nobody would pay attention. Again, that same story. And it states a U.S. citizen can be secretly arrested, disappeared with a black bag over their head, and be killed. And we saw the Congress defend it. They passed it. They gave it to the president. All of that has now taken place. Just last week in Wired Magazine, the Washington Post, anybody can pull this up. Just type in head of CIA, General Petraeus, your dishwasher is spying on you. And he gave a speech and said, every new appliance, from your digital clock radio to your cell phone to your washing machine, dryer,
will be feeding information back, right?
Yes. When you pay for it, you think you're just paying for the product, but into that, under this global agreement, this corporate standardization, everything is having audio and video or bare minimum tracker systems added. We all saw last year when the federal government admitted, yeah, we've got federal grants for the smart meters, and they can tell every appliance you're using in the house. Well, the question is, how do you do that? They now have data over power lines. And so the electric sockets going into your appliances now have tech built into their circuitry that allows those computers to interface. And again, the head of the CIA last week came out and said, we are watching you. And he went on to say, we don't need warrants anymore. So they're saying, we'll secretly arrest you. The TSA will put their hands down your pants. Now the TSA is going to be on the streets of America. They say, we're watching you in your home. Public schools are announcing.
Well, Alex, let me ask you this. What is going on to necessitate this so quickly? You know, you and I have talked about this for years, and we slowly watched it unfold. And we talked about it. It took a step back the more we talked about it. Then it moved forward. Then it went back. Now it seems it's almost out of control, that there seems to be a deadline in their brains, and they need to get this done.
Well, you just said it. That's it. And that was my next point that I was actually going to get to, is why are they doing this? Forever, Bush got caught spying on citizens, and there was talk of indictments. It was illegal, congressional hearings. Now they're shifting from denying it to just admitting it. And it's because the big six mega banks that are setting up this world government, that are financing all sides of the conflict, know that they have committed incredible crimes. They know that they're so close to going to jail. They know their whole new world order is inches from going up in flames. And so they've gone from stealth to just letting it all hang out, hiding it in plain view. And they're going, yeah, we torture. Yeah, we grow the opium in Afghanistan. Yeah, we're spying on you without warrants. And you bet we're going to use the military against you, because they have to hide it in plain view.
Yeah, it's not even covert anymore.
Exactly. They have to hide it in plain view so they can order mercenaries and military and police to carry it out, because the military and police are going to say no. But if it's openly announced, more of them tend to follow the order if they believe it's legal and lawful. So these globalist fraudsters who've engaged in all these crimes, they're trying to sell everybody that this is legitimate, because after all, the head of the CIA wouldn't be announcing he's spying on all of us and that he doesn't need warrants anymore if it wasn't true. So they're afraid of the awakening, and they know that their collapse that they engineered is about to take place.
We've got Alex Jones tonight for a couple hours, and folks, we're not kidding. This is not a joke. This is it's not April 1st yet. We are actually talking about things that are going on, executive orders that are being put in place to give government, to give presidents the opportunity to do whatever they need to do under the guise of natural disasters or time of war. Secretary of Defense, for example, under the new executive order that was signed Friday, will have the control over water resources. The Secretary of Defense. Alex, that's weird.
No, you said it. I mean, FEMA can't even deal with Katrina. FEMA can't even deal with the basic emergency. And if you look at the executive orders that this executive order activates, it's the famous executive orders on taking over infrastructure, manufacturing, highways, communications, for any emergency. I mean, this is the beginning stages of basically activating and warming up what you call martial law. And when we come back, if you want, George, I'd like to connect the dots here and show people the other areas that are being activated where every facet of our lives is being tracked and traced.
Let's put together the pieces of the puzzle. Next hour, we'll take your phone calls with Alex Jones. More to come when we come right back. I'm George Norrie. This is Coast to Coast AM. We will take your phone calls with Alex Jones, the Patriot, next hour. More to talk with him about when we come back in just a moment. And welcome back. We've got Alex Jones. And Alex, you have this tendency to see the big picture. You see the puzzle while the pieces are still scattered all over the table. What do you see?
Well, George, looking at history, we know that societies and cultures go through cycles, and that nations that have had incredible freedom produce amazing levels of prosperity. But then nations tend to become decadent. They've forgotten where they came from. And here in the United States, we're seeing a repeat of history. This nation is still the greatest country on earth. We are filled with wonderful, hardworking people of every race, color, creed, religion. But underlying it all, there is a sickness, a decadence, and the tyrants that wish to seize the United States and use it as an engine of global domination, as the workhorse of private corporate world government, are doing everything they can to condition us and train us to accept the opposite of a free republic. And you said something before the break that is central to all of this. Why is the power structure doing this? Why are they announcing total spying, everything you do being recorded by the government? Unbelievably unconstitutional, unbelievably illegal, a felony every act. Why are they on the news admitting they're doing it? Because they're scared of justice. They're scared of the people waking up, so they're attempting to acclimatize and condition everybody to accept what they're doing. But the larger question is, why are they accelerating this takeover? It's not just because they're scared and have to take over because the best way to consolidate their crimes is to set up an authoritarian system. It's more than that. They have created conservatively, even the Washington Post admits this, over $1,000 trillion worldwide in U.S. dollars, over 1 quadrillion in fake fraudulent paper derivatives. And who did it? A handful, less than 10 big banks, the 6 mega banks, over 90% of that.
And that hasn't all collapsed yet. That still could come, Alex.
Exactly. So that's what too big to fail is. These big mega banks, if you go back to the end of Glass-Steagall 12, 13 years ago when Congress ignored all the warnings of economists and others and said, look, investment banks can get into the brokerage business, they can create financial instruments, they can create basically all the counterfeit financial instruments they want. Everyone said this is going to end up creating the mother of all bubbles, and when it collapses, it's going to destroy our society. And we've got to triage this debt because every economist that I've heard on your show and everywhere else goes over the numbers. It's impossible to pay back. When you've got over $1,000 trillion that they're trying to get the United States and a handful of other countries to, quote, pay back, well, the entire economy of the world is only a fraction of 1,000 trillion. Mm-hmm. We can't pay it back.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. But B, and even more importantly, this isn't our debt. When you look at Greece or Ireland or Spain or Italy, where the globalists are installing their own people, the governments have signed on to the bankers' derivatives. So they create the derivatives, hold us hostage, and say there'll be a worldwide collapse and depression if you don't back this up with tax money. Then they bring in austerity, jack up the taxes, cut the benefits. The economy's going to cardiac arrest, and the bankers aren't even so much looking for that bailout money because they can just print more themselves.
They just print more, yeah.
They want the depressed economy because then they could buy everything up for pennies on the dollar or pennies on the euro. So that's, to answer your question, which I know that you knew, but for some of your new listeners, that's why they're doing this. Every generation expects the last tyrant to come after them. Like my grandfather fought Hitler as a B-17 bomber pilot. Well, we're not fighting Hitler today. Every generation looks back and thinks they're fighting the last threat. The threat we're facing are con artists in suits and ties who have taken over our society and who have created a fraud so big they can hold our society hostage in the threat of, if we don't give them whatever they want, they'll implode our economy. They're already imploding our economy. The only way out of this is what Ron Paul has talked about, to triage this debt, to write it off, to let the billionaires and the people that leverage trillions of dollars of control, to let them go under. It's either us or them. It's that simple. They're trying to fully convert our economy, and I've got a list of these topics and points, but they're trying to convert our economy over to a tyranny. They're trying to hide it in plain view and normalize it. All we've got to do is call them on it.
But, Alex, do you think if people are given their breadcrumbs and, given their car and their little house or apartment and, they think they've been left alone, do you think they'll be content?
Yes, many people, for the breadcrumbs, for the stuff that falls off the edge of the table, will feel thankful and defend the system.
Yes.
But there were a lot of people in 1775, 1776 who were content. It was 3% that spoke out. It was 5% that won that war. And we're fighting an information war today. And I want people to understand something. We're not facing just some financial tyranny like our forebears were. We're facing a total takeover. I mean, our president openly takes orders from the UN to launch wars now and tells Congress to go fly a kite. Our federal government and our president and our Congress have passed laws saying that citizens can disappear into the night and never be seen again, directly out of the pages of the most hardcore tyrannies that history has ever seen. Our so-called government is openly announcing that they're building giant NSA bases in Utah and San Antonio, Texas, to spy on everything we do, every act they carry out, a serious felony.
Cities will have drones flying all over the place.
That's right. In the last FAA 5-year spending bill that was $63 billion, half of it was for 30,000 drones. The TSA is not just groping and abusing people in airports now. They're at highway checkpoints and federalizing our police in violation of the 10th Amendment and the 4th Amendment.
Patted down a little kid in a wheelchair.
That's right, little children in wheelchairs now. Eminent domain under Agenda 21 all over the country. People's property is being taken, and they're being paid nothing. The UN, as everybody knows, in Connecticut a few years ago, through their different treaties and agendas, have the state government and the federal government come to people and say, you take 10 cents on the dollar, and if you resist us, we're going to take it and charge you for the court cost. That's what's happening. People are having their land taken and not even being paid. Hey, talk about martial law, George. We're already under a soft martial law. When you've got a president saying he'll secretly arrest citizens, when you've got the TSA doing this, when you've got the federal government launching wars without congressional approval, when you've got the president 2 weeks ago on another Friday evening signing a bill that they can announce any area they want as a federal security zone and charge you with felonies for protesting in any way. What's so sad here is...
And would they all be signing this, every president that gets elected? I think they would.
Absolutely.
Except maybe Ron Paul.
I don't know if Ron Paul would go along with this.
No, I don't think he would.
Yeah, his voting record shows that he wouldn't. But regardless, it's that we've been acclimated. We've been prepared. I mean, I am so sad to have to talk about this on air. I wish this wasn't true. I wish I was wrong a decade ago about what I saw coming. I wish that it wasn't true, but that doesn't change it. It is, and everybody needs to understand